Well, good afternoon, friends. I'm Chuck Fager, and let me begin by saying I'm grateful to the Fellowship of Quakers in the Arts, FQA, and FGC for having this book launch session. I want especially to thank Jennifer Elam, Becky Ross, Wendy Mishner, and Blair Seitz for being here, and others who helped out. I'm glad this launch is part of the Lemonade Arts Center. That name brings back so many fond memories because it was 25 years ago, give or take a year, for pandemic disruption, when the Lemonade Art Gallery was premiered at River Falls, FGC, 1988 in Wisconsin. It began as an FQA experiment, but became a legendary adventure in turning lemons of difficulties into creative artistic lemonade, whence the name. I'm glad it's going again, and in this honor, I have some artistic lemonade right here. Yes, indeed. Says charged lemonade. I think that's because I paid for it with a credit card. All right, long may it flow. Now we're here to talk about a new book by my friend, colleague, and coworker, Emma Lapsansky-Werner. Tell It Slant. It's a biography of me, and I worked on it too. The word biography is in flux today, like many words. When writer cartoonist Linda Berry published a book about her life called 100 Demons, she called it an autobiofictionalography to try to include the mix of shifting perspectives involved, from verified facts to fuzzy memories, dreams, fantasies, and things that were probably totally imaginary but felt real. Working with Emma over 3 years, I often recall that with a smile. Autobiofictionalography, because shaping and trimming 80 years of my experience into a few hundred pages of words involved creating something that, no matter how many factual statements were in it, is still something kind of like a novel. Of course, as a writer, I've been shaping words for a long time, and this is not the first biography I've done, but it's the first one about me and intended to cover full span of 80 years and change. The uncertainty and mystery in such projects comes up repeatedly whenever an author pauses to look beyond specific facts, like when I was born in Kansas in 1942, and ask, as biographers must, how do all these factual dots connect? What does it all add up to? Those who read Tell It Slant to the end will find a concluding meditation on that query, where I confront some writers who seriously question whether or not personal identity and selves like mine or yours, whether they actually exist. Some thinkers say they really don't. Some say a self is just a bunch of bouncing blips of random experience, and any seeming coherence or meanings, especially on paper, are just made-up stories, imposed fictions. So on the one hand, we've got bouncing blips and autobiofictionalography. On the other, meaningful story, history, literature, art, providence, God's will, destiny. So which is it? Tell It Slant includes some of my answers, but I won't give away any spoilers here. We did our best, and Emma has identified some themes, or as she called them, trajectories, among all the facts and adventures. These trajectories don't fully settle the question of larger meaning, but they do illuminate it, and I hope they keep the book's pages turning. Among them, there's religion, from my conservative Catholic upbringing, and then an exodus into a pretty turbulent modern Quakerism. Alongside that is war. Born during World War II, I was raised on Air Force bases, while my father flew secret Cold War missions in nuclear-equipped bombers. My initial teenage reflex was to take a similar path, but the times soon changed that. I found Quakerism through the Civil Rights Movement and soon rejected American militarist orthodoxy as the Vietnam War engulfed much of my generation. Writing became my main tool for expressing this evolution, with special attention to Quakers. So I had a working writer's career, that is, various day jobs to support the writing. I learned my scribbler's trade by practice through various stints graduate school, driving cabs, newspapers, work for Congress, Postal Service, and ultimately 2 Quaker institutions, and all the while writing and publishing. There was also family, 2 marriages, and then Wendy, 4 children, and now grand and great-grandchildren. I retired in 2012. That is, I qualified for Social Security and have continued writing ever since. 40 plus books and counting. Religion, Quakerism, war, racial justice are still prominent subjects. Regrettably, much of that recent work has chronicled troubles, including widespread recent conflicts and splits among U.S. Quakers and parallel polarization in the wider American culture and politics. Like many others, I've charted the undermining of racial and social justice advances, along with efforts to demolish our democracy and efforts to resist that demolition. This ongoing sabotage has reached new depths, even this same week that you're meeting here, with ominous ramifications for Americans, including friends of all races, classes, and orientations. So that's unavoidably become another trajectory in the book and in my life, one I expect to continue long after my pen is finally laid down. Back in the day, as a morale booster, Dr. King often quoted an abolitionist preacher, Theodore Parker, about how the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Remember that? It seemed true and hopeful in my more activist years, but now I'm seeing this moral arc being bent and twisted backwards, away from justice and reversing progress. As this very week ends, I join many others crying out, what will it be next? I'm sorry if this doesn't point to a feel-good, upbeat finish to this auto-bio-fictionalography. I can't change those facts, though. But I do want to mention that there is also a counter trajectory of humor in Tell It Slant. I hope readers seek it out because, believe it or not, that's how I first made my mark with writing. In 1957, as a high school humorist, I wrote pieces that were supposed to be funny, and some of them actually were. I know that because their humor first got me into trouble and then helped get me out of it. How? You can find out in chapter 1. So it's no accident that among my books are 2 volumes of Quaker humor, and in 12 years of publishing an independent Quaker newsletter, in all of its 133 issues, besides the controversial Quaker news, and there was always plenty, every issue also included some jokes, Quaker chuckles, I call them. 20 years later, I did the same thing as director of Quaker House in North Carolina near Fort Bragg in wartime. I did that because I learned early on that humor and laughter were more like water and air than candy or dessert. They're necessities, not luxuries. Given the recent trend of events, some of the humor in Tell It Slant may be a little sardonic, sometimes possibly a bit sarcastic. Well, it reflects our times. As an old Quaker elder once said of a certain message in meeting, the water tastes of its pipe. It's a good thing Emma is here. She's in good humor and can find and feel some questions. And I invite you to read and enjoy Tell It Slant and send us feedback as moved. My blog for that is afriendlyletter.com, and I've also had the same email address for almost 40 years, and it's easy to remember, Chuck Fager at AOL.com. Now, I'm told that having an AOL address in 2024 marks one as clearly as a forehead tattoo as being a thoroughly superannuated senior citizen, over-the-hill geezer, past the peak, old hat, unhip, outre, peculiar, quaint, and out to lunch. Now, I like that last one, lunch, but I wear all those labels proudly, and my little old antique email still works. So enjoy the rest of this launch session, which is not lunch, while I finish my hopped up lemonade. I hope you enjoy reading Tell It Slant, and that it helps you keep walking cheerfully, resisting faithfully, minding your light in these tough and getting tougher times. So thank you, and take it away, Jennifer and Emma.